The sleek silver ship hung in space above the blue planet. Inside, tall figures with smooth gray skin moved about the control room. Their large, dark eyes blinked slowly as they watched the screens showing Earth below. "Primitive world," said Captain Tech, his thin lips barely moving. "But the High Council wants samples." His long fingers pressed buttons on the control panel. The ship began to descend toward a remote area of forest in South Korea. Dr. Jun Kim wiped sweat from his forehead. As he hiked along the forest trail, the morning sun filtered through the trees. Birds sang overhead. It was his first day off in weeks, and he wanted to enjoy every minute of it. At 42, Jun was one of the best doctors in Seoul. He had saved many lives and found cures for diseases others thought impossible to treat. But lately he felt tired. The hospital demanded too much. This hike was exactly what he needed. "Keep up, Jun," called a voice ahead. Commander Yuna Park stood on the trail, hands on her hips. At 38, she was fit and strong from years of military training. Her short black hair framed a face that rarely smiled, except around June. They had been friends since childhood. "Some of us don't run 5 miles every morning," June said. Smiling as he caught up to her, Yuna laughed. "That's why you need me to—" She stopped suddenly, looking up. A strange humming filled the air. The birds went quiet. The trees above them bent as if pushed by a strong wind. "What is that?" June asked, shielding his eyes as he looked up. A large silver object appeared above the trees. It was like nothing either of them had ever seen before. It hovered there, silent now, the size of a small house. "We need to go," Yuna said, grabbing June's arm. Her military training kicked in. "Now!" They turned to run, but a bright blue light shot down from the ship. It covered them completely. June felt his body go stiff. He couldn't move. Beside him, Yuna was frozen too, her face locked in an expression of alarm. As they floated upward, the last thing June saw was the tops of the trees getting smaller and smaller below. June woke up on a cold metal table. His head hurt. The room around him was all smooth metal with strange glowing panels on the walls. He tried to sit up but found that his wrists and ankles were held down by bands of light. "Yuna," he called, his voice hoarse. "Your companion is being examined in another room," said a voice. June turned his head. A tall, thin figure stood by the table. Its skin was gray. Its head was larger than a human's, with huge, dark eyes. It wore a silvery suit that seemed to shine with its own light. "Who are you?" June asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "What do you want?" "I am Sub-Commander, Tech of the Talon Empire," the alien said. Its mouth barely moved when it spoke. "You are a specimen collected for study." "Specimen?" June felt anger rise inside him. "We are not specimens, we are people. You can't just take us." Tech tilted his head, looking at June with those big dark eyes. "Your planet has not yet achieved interstellar travel. Under Imperial law, this makes you a primitive species. We may collect samples as needed for scientific research." Another alien entered the room. This one wore a white coat over its silver suit. "The scans are complete, Sub-Commander," the new alien said. "The female has interesting physical capabilities. The male shows unusual brain patterns." "Good," Tech said. "Prepare them for transport to Talon Prime." "Transport?" June asked, feeling panic rise. "You can't take us from Earth." Tech ignored him and left the room with the other alien. June pulled against the bands of light holding him down, but they didn't break. He was trapped. Days passed on the alien ship. June lost track of time. He was kept in a small room with a bed, and not much else. Food came through a slot in the wall twice a day. Strange, tasteless cubes that nonetheless kept him from being hungry. He was allowed to see Yuna once a day. They would meet in a room with a table and chairs, always under the watchful eyes of the aliens. "We need to find a way out," Yuna whispered during one of these meetings. Her military training made her focus on escape. "I've been watching their patterns. The guards change every 6 hours." "Escape to where?" June asked. "We're on a spaceship. Even if we could take control, neither of us knows how to fly it back to Earth." Yuna frowned. "We have to try something." Before they could talk more, the door opened and Tech entered. We will reach Talon Prime tomorrow, he announced. You will be transferred to the Imperial Science Center for further study. Please, June said, standing up. We have families, people who will miss us. You can't just... Your concerns are noted but irrelevant, Tech said. The Empire's needs come first. Talon Prime was nothing like Earth. As June and Yuna were led from the ship, they saw a world of tall, crystal-like buildings that seemed to touch the pink sky. 3 moons hung overhead, though it was daytime. The air smelled like metal and something sweet that June couldn't name. They were taken to a large building with the words Imperial Medical Center written above its doors in the alien language. Words that June could somehow understand after days of the aliens scanning his brain inside. They were separated again. Stay strong, Yuna told him as they were pulled apart. I'll find you. June was led down long hallways to a laboratory filled with strange equipment. Several aliens in white coats looked up as he entered. One stepped forward. He was taller than the others, with markings on his coat that suggested higher rank. I am High Physician Vex, he said. You will assist with our research. I'm a doctor, not a lab rat, June said angrily. Vex's eyes narrowed. You are whatever we say you are, human. Suddenly alarms began to sound. One of the alien scientists across the room collapsed to the floor, his gray skin turning a sickly blue color. The plague, someone shouted. He's showing symptoms. The other aliens backed away in fear. None moved to help their fallen colleague. Without thinking, June rushed forward. Years of medical training took over. He knelt beside the fallen alien, checking for vital signs. The alien's body was different from a human's, but June could see he was struggling to breathe. June looked around quickly, grabbing tools from a nearby table. He didn't know what they were exactly, but he could guess their purposes. One looked like a breathing tube. Another seemed similar to a medical scanner. Working fast, June inserted the tube into what he hoped was the alien's airway. He used the scanner to check for blockages. There, he said, finding the problem. His airway is closing up. It's an allergic reaction, not your plague. He spotted something like a syringe and, hoping it worked like Earth medicine, injected it into the alien's neck. Moments later, the alien gasped and his color began to return to normal. The room fell silent. All eyes were on June as he helped the recovered alien sit up. High Physician Vex stepped forward, his large eyes wide with surprise. How did you know what to do? He asked. I'm a doctor, June said simply. It's what I do. Vex stared at him for a long moment, then turned to Tech. This human will not be going to the science center, he said. He stays here at the medical center. Tech looked confused. But the High Council ordered. I don't care, Vex interrupted. This human just did what none of our physicians could do. And if he can understand this medical emergency... Vex looked at June with new interest. Perhaps he can help us understand the plague that's killing our ruling class. June stood tall, seeing an opportunity. I'll help you, he said, but on one condition. Commander Park stays with me, and we're treated as people, not specimens. Vex hesitated, then nodded slowly. Agreed, he said. From this moment, you are no longer specimens. He paused, looking June directly in the eyes. You are now the property of the Imperial Medical Center. June's new room was bigger than the cell on the ship. It had a soft bed, a desk, and even a window looking out at the pink sky of Talon Prime. But the door was still locked. He was still a prisoner. A week had passed since he saved the alien scientist. Every day, the Talons brought him to their medical lab to study Earth medicine. High Physician Vex watched him closely, asking endless questions. The door slid open. Speak of the devil, Vex stood there, his tall gray form blocking the light from the hall. The human female demands to see you again, Vex said. It is distracting the guards. June smiled. That sounded like Yuna. I told you, seeing her is part of our deal. Vex's large eyes blinked slowly. Very well. Follow me. They walked down the bright hallway. Other Talons stopped and stared at June as he passed. Some looked afraid. Others seemed curious. None had seen a human before he and Yuna arrived. In a small meeting room, Yuna waited. She jumped up when June entered. "Are you okay?" she asked, looking him over for injuries. "I'm fine," June said. "They're treating me well enough. How about you?" "They moved me to better quarters after you made your demands," Yuna said with a grin. "But I'm still planning our escape." Vex, who stood by the door, tilted his head. Escape would be unwise. The nearest human settlement is 27 light-years away. Yuna glared at him. "We'll find a way." Vex seemed unimpressed. "Dr. Kim, you are needed in the lab. The tests on the plague samples are complete." June nodded. "I'll be right there." He turned to Yuna and lowered his voice. "Stay patient. I'm learning more every day." The main laboratory of the Imperial Medical Center was huge. Tall windows let in the pink light from outside. Dozens of Talon medical staff worked at strange machines that hummed and blinked. Vex led June to a round table where several screens showed test results. The alien writing was somehow clear to June now. Another effect of whatever the Talons had done to his brain during the journey here. "These are blood samples from plague victims," Vex explained. "All members of the ruling caste." June studied the screens. "Have any lower caste Talons gotten sick?" "No," Vex said. "Only the ruling. Caste is affected." That was interesting. June thought for a moment. "I need to see samples from healthy ruling caste members and from lower caste Talons too, for comparison." Vex seemed uncomfortable. "That is not standard procedure." "Well, your standard procedures haven't solved the problem, have they?" June said boldly. A small Talon nearby made a sound like a gasp. No one spoke to High Physician Vex that way, but June knew his value now. He had leverage. After a long moment, Vex nodded. "It will be done." As they worked, a younger Talon approached them. She was smaller than Vex with lighter gray skin. "High Physician," she said with a small bow. "I am medical technician Lina. I have been assigned to assist the human doctor." Vex nodded. "Good. Show him how to use the cell scanner." As Vex walked away, Lina turned to June. "Is it true?" she asked quietly. "You saved Technician Mev with no training on Talon biology?" June shrugged. "Some medical principles are universal. He was having an allergic reaction. The body was fighting itself." Lina's eyes widened. "That is not how we understand disease. We believe all illness comes from outside forces attacking the body. Sometimes the body attacks itself." June explained. "On Earth, we call these autoimmune diseases." "Fascinating," Lina said. "Please tell me more about Earth medicine." Days turned into weeks. June worked long hours in the lab, studying the plague. Lina helped him learn to use the Talon equipment, which was advanced but followed strange ideas about how bodies worked. "Your medical science is very different," June told her one day as they examined blood samples. "You have amazing technology, but some of your basic ideas about disease are missing important parts." "That cannot be right," Lina said, but she didn't sound sure. "Talon medicine is the most advanced in the known universe. Yet you can't cure this plague," June pointed out gently. He showed her the blood samples on the screen. "Look here. The ruling caste has these special cell markers. The lower castes don't have them. The plague only attacks cells with these markers." Lina stared at the screen. "That would mean—" "It's a targeted disease," June said. "It was made to kill only the ruling caste." The lab door slid open before Lina could respond. Vex entered, followed by a tall Talon in rich clothes. His skin was darker gray than the others, and he wore a circlet of shining metal on his head. Everyone in the lab bowed deeply. Lina pulled June down to bow too. "Rise," said the new Talon. His voice was deeper than the others. "I am Prince Kraz. I have heard stories about the human healer." June stood straight. "I'm Dr. June Kim." Prince Kraz looked him over. "You are smaller than I expected. Less impressive." "Size isn't everything," June said, "especially in medicine." The prince's eyes narrowed. Bold words from a primitive species. He turned to Vex. My personal physician died yesterday. The plague takes our best minds first. I am sorry, Your Highness, Vex said with another bow. The Emperor commands that this human examine me, Kraz said. He didn't sound happy about it. He believes the human might see something our physicians missed. June noticed how Kraz's hands trembled slightly. The prince was already sick. I'll need to run several tests, June said, and I'll need freedom to try new approaches. You are a prisoner, Kraz reminded him coldly. I'm also your best hope, June replied. The prince stared at him for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he laughed. Perhaps there is more to humans than we thought. Very well, Doctor. You have 1 week to show progress. If you fail, you return to being a research specimen. After the prince left, Vex turned to June. That was dangerous. The prince is not known for his patience. Then we'd better work fast, June said. I need to see Yuna first, then we'll start. Yuna listened carefully as June explained the situation. So this plague only affects the ruling class? She asked. Sounds like someone created it to target them specifically. June nodded. Exactly what I was thinking. This could be our chance, Yuna said quietly. If you save the prince, they might be grateful enough to send us home. Maybe, June said. But first I need to understand how this bioweapon works. Bioweapon? A voice said from the doorway. They turned to see Lina standing there, eyes wide. You truly believe the plague was created deliberately? June hesitated, then nodded. The evidence points that way. It's too specific to be natural. But who would create such a thing, Lina asked. That's what we need to find out, June said. But first we need to stop it. Will you help us, Lina? The young Talon looked scared, but she squared her shoulders. What you suggest is dangerous. It means someone in the Empire is committing treason. People are dying, June said simply. Does it matter who's to blame right now? Lina was quiet for a moment, then nodded. What do you need me to do? Get me samples from all castes, June said, and help me access the historical medical records. There might be clues there that everyone missed. As Lina hurried away, Yuna looked at June with new respect. You've changed, she said. A month ago you were just a tired doctor from Seoul. June smiled sadly. Amazing what being abducted by aliens will do for your career. For the first time in weeks, they both laughed. 2 months had passed since June first arrived on Talon Prime. He stood by Prince Kraz's bed, checking the medical scanner in his hand. The prince's color had improved greatly. The trembling in his hands was almost gone. You will live, Your Highness, June said with a small smile. The treatment is working. Prince Kraz sat up slowly. I must admit, human, I did not believe you could succeed where our finest physicians failed. The treatment had been simple, once June understood the disease. The plague attacked specific cells in the ruling caste's bodies. By creating a medicine that protected those cells, June had given the prince's body time to fight back. The full treatment will take another week, June explained, but you're no longer in danger. The door slid open, and High Physician Vex entered with several other, important-looking Talons. The Emperor wishes an update on his son's condition, Vex said, bowing to the prince. Tell my father that the human doctor has succeeded, Prince Kraz said. I will be well enough to attend the Imperial Council meeting next week. The Talons looked at June with new respect and some with fear. A human, a primitive being, had done what their best minds could not. There is more, the prince continued. I have decided that Dr. Kim will serve as my personal physician from now on. June was surprised. Your Highness, I still have much work to do on understanding the plague. You can do both, Prince Kraz said firmly. You will have whatever resources you need. As the prince and his attendants left, Vex turned to June. You should be proud, he said. No alien has ever held such a position in the imperial household. I'm still a prisoner, June pointed out. Vex blinked slowly. A prisoner with growing power, Dr. Kim. Use it wisely. In her new quarters, Yuna met with a cleaning worker who brought her food. The worker was a lower caste Talon named Mick. Over weeks, Yuna had earned his trust. What news from the city? she asked quietly. Meek looked around nervously. The lower castes speak of the human healer everywhere. They say he treats all patients the same, regardless of caste. That sounded like June, Yuna thought with pride. There is more, Mick whispered. There are meetings, secret ones. A Talon named Drav leads them. He speaks of change, of ending the caste system. A rebellion? Yuna asked, her military mind analyzing the possibilities. Mick nodded. They wish to meet the human healer, and you, the human warrior. Yuna considered this. A rebellion could create chaos, a perfect chance to escape, but it could also be dangerous. Need to speak with June first, she said finally. In the lab, June and Lina worked late into the night. They had made a breakthrough in understanding how the plague worked. Look at this, June said, pointing to the screen. The plague doesn't just attack the ruling caste's genetic markers. It was designed to spread among them specifically. How? Is that possible? Lina asked, leaning closer. It jumps from one ruling caste member to another because it's attracted to their specific genetic markers, June explained. That's why the lower caste never gets sick. The plague ignores them completely. Lina shook her head in wonder. This is far beyond any disease I've ever studied. It must have been created by someone with extensive knowledge of Talon biology. And with access to the ruling caste's genetic information, June added. That information is restricted, isn't it? Only the highest medical authorities have access, Lina confirmed. She hesitated. Like High Physician Vex. June frowned. Could Vex be behind the plague? Or was someone else using that information? The lab door opened and Yuna entered, escorted by a guard who quickly left. We need to talk, she said urgently. June introduced her to Lina, then listened as Yuna explained about the rebellion brewing among the lower castes. This could be dangerous, June said when she finished. Or it could be our chance to go home, Yuna countered. Lina looked troubled. If there is a rebellion, many will die on both sides. Unless we can stop the plague and expose who created it, June said. That might prevent a full-scale revolt. Before they could discuss further, alarms began to sound throughout the medical center. What's happening? June asked. Lina rushed to check the main communication panel. Emergency alert. All medical staff to report to their stations. Her large eyes widened. The Emperor has fallen ill. The Imperial Palace was the largest building June had ever seen. Crystal towers reached up to the pink sky. Guards in shining armor stood everywhere. June, Yuna, and Lina were led through long hallways to the Emperor's private chambers. Vex waited for them outside the door. The Emperor has asked for you specifically, Vex told June. This is unprecedented. Why am I here? Yuna asked. The Emperor requested both humans, Vex said. He did not explain why. Inside the bedroom, Emperor Draz lay on a large bed. He looked much like his son, but older, his gray skin darker with age. His breathing was labored. Prince Kraz stood nearby, his face showing worry. Father, the human doctor, is here. The Emperor's eyes opened slowly. Come closer, human. June approached the bed and bowed. Your Imperial Majesty. My son tells me you saved his life, the Emperor said, his voice weak. Now I ask you to save mine. I will do my best, June promised. He turned to Lina. I need the same medicines we used for the prince, but a stronger dose. As Lina hurried to prepare the treatment, the Emperor motioned for Yuna to approach. You are the warrior, he said. Yuna nodded stiffly. Commander Yuna Park, Your Majesty. My security chief believes someone in the palace created this plague, the Emperor said. I need someone I can trust to find the truth. Someone with no ties to Talon politics. Yuna was surprised. You want me to investigate? Yes, the Emperor said. You will have authority to question anyone, access any records. June, who was examining the Emperor's vital signs, looked up. Why trust us? We're your prisoners. The Emperor smiled weakly. Because you have no reason to lie to me. If I die, you remain prisoners. If I live, perhaps that changes. June and Yuna exchanged glances. This was an opportunity they hadn't expected. "We'll help you," June said. "But when this is over, we want to go home." "Save my life and expose the traitors," the Emperor said, "and I will consider your request." Later, as June administered the treatment to the Emperor, Lina pulled him aside. "I found something in the medical records," she whispered. 3 years ago, a research project studied the genetic differences between castes. The project was shut down, but the data wasn't destroyed. "Who led the project?" June asked. "A scientist named Krev," Lina said. "He's now the head of biological research at the Science Center." Yuna, who had been listening, stepped closer. "We need to speak with this Krev." "That won't be easy," Lina warned. "The Science Center is highly secured. I think I know someone who can help," Yuna said with a small smile. "It's time we meet this rebel leader, Drav." As they spoke, none of them noticed a shadow moving outside the door, a figure listening to every word they said. The door to the Emperor's chamber suddenly burst open. A Talon guard rushed in, weapon raised. "Look out!" Yuna shouted, pushing June aside as the guard fired. The energy blast missed June but hit the medical equipment, sending sparks flying. Yuna tackled the guard, using her military training to bring him down despite his larger size. More guards ran in, securing the attacker. Prince Kraz rushed to his father's side. "Are you hurt, father?" "I am well," the Emperor said, looking at June and Yuna with new respect. "Thanks to our human friends." Vex entered, looking shocked. "Who would dare attack the Emperor?" "Someone who doesn't want him cured," June said grimly. "Someone who created the plague in the first place." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Find them, Commander Park. I give you full authority." Yuna nodded, standing tall. "I won't fail you, Your Majesty." As they left the Emperor's chambers, June noticed how the Talon guards looked at them differently now, not as specimens or prisoners, but as allies. "Things are changing," he told Yuna quietly. "Yes," she agreed. "But are they changing fast enough for us to get home?" Behind them, Lina watched with worried eyes, caught between loyalty to her people and her growing friendship with the humans who were changing her world. The lower levels of the city were different from the shining towers above. Here the buildings were smaller, the lights dimmer. Lower caste Talons moved quickly through narrow streets, keeping their heads down. Yuna, June, and Lina wore simple cloaks to hide their identities. They followed Meek, the cleaning worker, through a maze of alleys. "Are you sure this is safe?" Lina whispered. As a medical technician, she had never been to the lower levels before. "No," Yuna said honestly, "but we need answers." Meek stopped at a plain door and knocked 3 times, then twice more. The door opened a crack, then wider. They slipped inside. Tikyo room was full of Talons, all from the lower castes. They fell silent when they saw the humans. A tall Talon stepped forward. His skin was darker than most, with a scar across his face. "I am Drav," he said, "leader of the Free Talon movement." He looked at June with interest. "The famous human healer." "I'm Dr. June Kim," June said. "This is Commander Yuna Park." Drav nodded. "We have heard much about you both." His eyes moved to Lina. "Why have you brought a medical technician here?" "She's helping us," Yuna explained. "We're trying to find who created the plague." Drav's expression darkened. "We know who is responsible. The ruling caste has always seen us as less than them. Now they created a weapon that spares us only because they do not care enough to kill us." "You're wrong," June said. "The evidence suggests someone working against the ruling caste created the plague." "What evidence?" Drav demanded. June explained what they had discovered, how the plague targeted only ruling caste genetic markers, and about the research project led by Krev. "We need to get into the Science Center to question Krev," Yuna said. "Can you help us?" Drav was quiet for a moment. "Why should we help save those who oppress us?" "Because innocent people are dying," June said simply. "And because if we expose the truth, it might bring the change you want without violence." The rebel leader looked at the humans with new respect. "Very well, I have people who work at the Science Center. They will get you inside." He turned to his followers. Prepare the transport. The Science Center was a huge building near the Imperial Palace. Unlike the medical center, it was heavily guarded. No one got in without proper authorization, but as Drav had promised, they found help. Two lower caste Talons who worked as cleaners met them at a service entrance. Krev's laboratory is on the 5th level, one whispered. Be careful, he rarely leaves it. With Lina leading the way, they moved through service corridors, avoiding the main halls where they might be seen. Twice they had to hide when guards passed by. Finally, they reached a door marked Biological Research. Yuna used the security card Drav's people had given them. The door slid open. Inside, a Talon worked alone, bent over a glowing screen. He was older than Vex, his skin a pale gray. Krev? Lina called. The Talon jumped in surprise. Who are you? How did you get in here? I'm Commander Park, Yuna said, stepping forward. By order of the Emperor, I need to ask you about your research on caste genetics. Krev's eyes widened. That project was terminated years ago. But the data wasn't destroyed, June said. Someone used it to create the plague. That's impossible, Krev said, but his voice shook. Only 3 people had access to that data. Who? Yuna demanded. Myself, High Physician Vex, and... Krev hesitated. And who? June pressed. High Counselor Zek, Krev whispered. The Emperor's chief advisor. Yuna and June exchanged looks. Zek was one of the most powerful Talons in the Empire, second only to the Emperor himself. We need proof, Yuna said. Krev hesitated, then moved to his computer. I kept records of who accessed the data, against orders. His long fingers moved over the controls. There, look. The screen showed a log of access times. Most were from years ago during the research phase, but there were more recent ones, all from Zek's personal account. We need to get this to the Emperor, June said urgently. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the building. A voice came over the speakers. Attention all citizens. Lower caste rebels have attacked Imperial guards in the Central District. All security forces respond. This is not a drill. The rebellion has started, Lina said, her voice fearful. This is too soon, Yuna said. Drav promised to wait. It wasn't Drav, came a new voice from the doorway. They turned to see High Physician Vex standing there. What do you mean? June asked. Zek has agents among the rebels, Vex explained. He's been planning this for years. Create a plague that only affects the ruling caste, then trigger a rebellion before a cure can be found. You knew? Yuna asked. Angrily, I suspected, Vex said. But I had no proof until you found it. He looked at June. That's why I kept you alive, human. I knew your outside perspective might see what we missed. We need to get to the Emperor, June said. He needs to know the truth. Vex nodded. Follow me. There's a secure transport on the roof. The city was in chaos. From the transport, they could see fighting in the streets. Lower caste rebels clashed with Imperial guards. Buildings burned. This is exactly what Zek wanted, Vex said grimly. Chaos. In the confusion, he'll move against the Emperor. When they reached the palace, they found it surrounded by troops loyal to Zek. They had to land on a small platform at the back of the building. The Emperor is in the central chamber with Prince Kraz, Vex told them as they hurried through the halls. If we're lucky, Zek hasn't reached them yet. They were not lucky. When they burst into the central chamber, they found Zek already there. The tall, imposing Talon stood over the Emperor, who lay on the floor. Prince Kraz was held by 2 guards. You're too late, Zek said, turning to face them. The old order is ending. The people won't follow you when they learn the truth, Yuna said. That you created the plague. That you killed your own kind. Zek laughed. They will believe what I tell them to believe. Not anymore, came a weak voice. The Emperor sat up. Slowly. He wasn't dead after all. The human doctor's treatment made me stronger than you realized, Zek. Guards loyal to the Emperor rushed in from side doors, surrounding Zek and his men. It's over, the Emperor said. 1 month later, June stood before the Emperor in the throne room. The rebellion had been stopped once the truth about Zek was revealed. The traitor now sat in a prison cell awaiting trial. "Dr. Kim," the Emperor said, "you have saved my life, my son's life, and perhaps the Empire itself." June bowed slightly. "I just did what any doctor would do, Your Majesty." "No," the Emperor said. "You did more. You showed us that our view of humans as primitive was wrong." He stood up. "I hereby declare that Earth is recognized as a sovereign world, and all humans in Talon space are free citizens, not specimens." Yuna, standing beside June, smiled. They were finally free. "There is more," the Emperor continued. "I am establishing an interspecies medical exchange, with you as its director, Dr. Kim, and Commander Park will lead a new joint security force." June was surprised. "Your Majesty, we wish to return home." "And you shall," the Emperor promised. "As ambassadors, not prisoners, you will be the first of many humans to visit our world. By choice, not by force." Later, as they prepared for their journey home, Lina came to say goodbye. "I have been assigned to go with you to Earth," she told them. "As the first Talon student of human medicine, you'll be welcome," June said, smiling. As they boarded the ship that would take them home, Yuna looked at June. "Not bad for a tired doctor from Seoul." June laughed. "Not bad for a couple of prisoners." Through the viewport, they watched as Talon Prime grew smaller behind them. Ahead lay Earth, and a new beginning for both worlds. On the ship's communication screen, Emperor Draz made one final announcement to his people. "Today marks a new chapter in our history. The Kim Decree will ensure that never again will we judge other species as lesser. For it was a human, once our prisoner, now our friend, who taught us that wisdom comes in many forms, even from those we once thought primitive." June smiled as the stars streaked past. Sometimes he thought the best healers were those who could heal not just bodies, but understanding between different worlds.